The job I was in was very stressful, target driven, with long hours. A lot of boys together in a sales environment, trying to outdo each other. What I found was I started to use it to help me to try and forget about my job in the evening and leave it where it was. But then I started using it to help me get to sleep. Then it was the creeper effect, and I started to use it. Before I knew it, I was using it daily. It went from a weekend recreational thing into a way of life. There was nobody to talk to. Everybody done the same thing. It was just the culture. I began using cocaine to cope during the day whenever I couldn't use alcohol. To level off, to bring me back, to deal with the hangover, to deal with the tiredness in the afternoon, to deal with stressful meetings, management meetings, things like that, as a coping mechanism during the day. At the start, I would have told you it was better because I was getting rested the night before. But I can quite clearly see, looking back on it now, because I wouldn't have spoke to any customers before 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now for car salesman, that's not much good if you're not going to speak to customers until that, you might be in work, but you're not closing deals. But I would have said, I lost the driving license and that was it. Then I had to go in the end, but that was one of the house cards all filled out. But I would have argued with you up until that point that it helped me to relieve stress, to get me a night's sleep the night before, to stop me from the thinking, the constant racing head. Culture, really the only time we ever talked about alcohol or drugs was whenever we were doing them. On a Friday night, if everybody went for a drink after work. I actually crept in this Saturday afternoon at lunchtime, going for a drink. It was never talked about in a way that, I suppose it was just never talked about. It was everybody understood that it went on, but it was like an ignorance is bliss or turn the blind eye, as long as it didn't affect your performance on the job. Well, any event, there was any time we were at an event, or we actually used to reward our salesmen with bottles of vodka or whiskey, things like that there, but it was like an incentive, so it was never seen as like the wrong thing to do, and unless something had to be said, nothing was really said. It was a turn of blind eye to, but that's because there was no clear direction from the company. Everybody did it. Alcohol anyway. Everybody did it. It was accepted. It wasn't really talked about. Everybody knew it went on, but nobody ever, it didn't come from management, senior management or anything like that. With me being middle management, I was never briefed on how to speak to anybody that you maybe thought had a problem with alcohol or drugs. Definitely, you knew it went on, but as long as you're good at your job, nobody really cares. It's a bit pretty much at the end of the day, like most businesses, especially in sales, it's all about the money, but as long as you're good at your job, then nobody bothered. I wasn't aware that there was any procedures in my workplace. And if there had been, I don't know whether I would have asked for it. With it being a male-dominated environment I was in, the ask for help would have been a sign of weakness. Well, it went very quickly from being the blue-eyed boy, one of the boys incentivised with alcohol, to losing my driving licence, being the black sheep overnight, been asked to leave, which then in turn I lost my job, lost my house, my family, and ended up quite low. But just a clearer understanding of procedures, and maybe having somebody to be able to talk to in conference, without the threat of losing your job, because that's really what the undercurrent was, and that's why I believe one of the factors that I didn't ask for help or access any services then was the fact that there's a possibility here that if you say you have a problem with alcohol, then you mightn't have a job, rather than dealing with it at the time. The testing would have prevented me. Not only that, then if the testing was alongside support services, the easier access, then you're starting to educate people where their policies are a bit clearer, procedures are a bit clearer. There's no grey areas, it's all black and white. That people know exactly where they stand. But yeah, if there was testing followed by the support services, then yeah, definitely that would start to change the culture. No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. There may well have been, but not that I had. It was maybe mentioned in a handbook that you would have got, and probably wouldn't have read, but it's maybe mentioned in a handbook about drug and alcohol use, but no. The more education, training and support we receive can only mean a better workplace for us all.